So you want to carry a 1911 as a defensive handgun, do you? Well, I got to be honest with you. Most people that are carrying 1911s are probably carrying the wrong one. They're probably carrying it for the wrong reason. It probably won't do what you think it will. But let's talk about 1911s as carry pieces. So I'm grateful to be here today at azfirearms.com. My friends Dan and Cheryl own this incredible gun store. If you are anywhere in Arizona, you got to come check this place out. Just the number of incredible NFA guns they have is worth seeing it. They have a fantastic selection of stuff. But I really indeed want to talk about the 1911 as a carry gun. Well, a couple things. Number one, built in the age of the single stack. Now, we're not talking about 2011s right now, 9mm double stack guns that are in that same pattern. That's maybe for another day. But right now, in a full-size gun, and the honest truth is, if you were going to carry a 1911, it was designed by Jesus and John Moses Browning in 45 ACP with a full size. So a full-size gun is what you want. Now, what we have here, if you really want a cool one, is an actual 1917. This one is 1917 manufacture. Still has the proof mark, says U.S. government property on it. I'm going into Ian McCollum Forgotten Weapons territory here, but this is an actual historical gun. You can see just how small the safety is on it and all those things. But if you want an honest-to-God U.S. property, World War II, perhaps carry gun, that one comes with a holster as well. You're talking a price tag around $3,500. Obviously. Now, why is that? Well, I really love a line from Tom Gibbons. Tom Gibbons, the owner of Rangemaster, said that the 1911 was invented when manufacturing was expensive, but labor was cheap. And today we live in a world that labor is expensive and manufacturing is cheap. So when this gun was built, it was hand built by a gunsmith, and they're still done today, but because of that, incredibly expensive by those standards. So instead you get something like, oh, I don't know, this Kimber. I will tell you straight up, this particular one is a Pro CDP, and I actually owned and carried a Pro CDP too for a while, and they look super pretty. And you see somebody show up at the gun store and they go, ooh, Kimber Pro CDP. It's got these beautiful rosewood grips, and it's got two-tone, and it's shiny in the right spots. And straight up, if you know the history of these firearms, before 2005, Kimber was basically a specialty shop, and they made pretty good specialty guns. But then they turned into a manufacturing shop instead, and since then their quality control has gone through the floor. And quite frankly, we teach at Active Self-Protection about 300 to 400 students a year on the line traveling with the Cover Your Asp tour. And if I see a student show up with a Kimber 1911, it's going to break every time. It's going to break, and it's going to have feedway problems. We call these the kings of the feedway stoppage. And here's the thing. This Kimber right here, you're looking at an $1,100 gun minimum, and we see them on the wall if they do any kind of weird stuff to them or anything like that, or they've given them in a weird finishes or those kinds of things. $1,500–1,600 for one of these guns is not beyond the realm of what they get asked for, and I just think it's not worth it. Now, if you just want a 1911 because of the nostalgia or something like that, a gun that'll run is something like this Ruger. Now, here's the interesting thing. Here on my mic. You can hear the rattle in this one, right? If you're going to make a 1911 run and you're going to manufacture them, you got to do what they did with GI guns in the 40s, and that is you got to kind of loosen up the tolerances a little bit, and that will make this gun run. And Rugers are kind of known for that. They're a little rattly, you know? It'll probably run okay for you as a range gun, and this guy here, you're talking about $925. Okay, fine. Would I pay $925 for this one as a range toy before that one? I kind of would. Now, you can also go something like, this is a Springfield, and this particular gun is kind of a no-frills Springer, but notice no rattle, okay? The Springfield 1911, there's a little bit in there, but not too much, is a pretty fine-built gun, and you can get this guy for $999. As a range guy, you can see this one's got target sights on him. Okay, fine. As a range gun, great. But quite frankly, if you're going to go with one of these as an actual defensive tool, you got to go back to guns that are hand-built. And you're not going to find a whole lot of hand-built guns just sitting around the gun store because you got to order them. And so when we're talking about a gun that's hand-built by a gunsmith that is put together to the correct tolerances, that takes them 40, 50, 60 hours worth of work to do. So now you're talking a couple $1,000s and up. You're not going to find those just sitting anywhere. Now, of course, you can get one of these custom, you know, one of these old school historical pieces, and that can spend a bunch of money. And I don't care. If you want to carry a 19 by God 11, I'm totally cool with that. But here's my recommendation. Number one, stay away from Kimber. That's straight up truth. And I know people are gonna get stuff on me on that, and it has a lot of cool features, okay? So this Kimber has checkered back strap, checkered front strap. It's got a lot of cool custom stuff. It's got night sights on it and all those things. The problem is it just doesn't run. And I don't care what you spend on it, especially you're gonna have, a defensive firearm. I can give you one anecdote. Last year I was taking John Murphy's concealed carry advanced skills and tactics class, had a student with this exact gun who showed up on the line with us. And we were told, unload and show clear, put some range ammo in your gun, we're gonna do a warm up. And that warm up was draw and put 5 rounds in the target at a conversational pace. And that student had 3 malfunctions within the first 5 rounds of getting that gun out. Now you say that's just an anecdote, one bad gun. I'm telling you, we see it again and again and again when they come into class. So avoid that one. If I saw a student come out with a Ruger like this, might run, might not. If I saw a student come out with a Springfield 1911 like this guy, probably run okay, depending on how hard we run it, but almost always needs to be lubed in the middle of the day and has to have more maintenance done on it. If I had a student show up with that gun, I would question their sanity why they would be shooting such a beautiful piece that should be sitting in a place of honor in their home. As far as what brands of 1911 would I recommend? I think you got to get into the custom game if you're going to go to a 1911 for a carry gun. Now we're not talking about 2011s here, we're talking about 45 ACP. I would be looking at folks like Chambers Custom and Joe Chambers. I would look at folks like Nighthawk. I would look at folks like Les Baer, like Wilson Combat. Those kinds of guns are the kind of 1911s that you want to go to. Now, of course, the problem is they're going to be $2,000 and up. So 1911s, guys, if you want to carry them, you knock yourself out. I think that personally, I don't like single action only guns. I don't really like the idea of a manual safety on a carry gun. And certainly, if you're going to carry one, stay away from this one.